If you're feeling at a crossroads right now, that's almost certainly because we are between the eclipses. We just had the full moon eclipse in the sign of Virgo last week, and next week we're going to get a new moon eclipse in Aries. So it's a really big deal and a really important time, astrologically speaking. So let's just talk about the period between the eclipses. It's very potent. I've read some people calling it the eclipse portal. So eclipses almost always, they always come in pairs, and we always have at least four of them a year. In fact, that's what we've got this year. We have four of them, and we can have up to seven in a year, which makes for a much more tumultuous time than we were already having. So we've had the lunar eclipse, the full moon eclipse in Virgo, which was on March the 14th, which was really about letting go. Like, we can talk about the fact it was in Virgo, it was probably illuminating something to do with our daily life or making decisions about health or how we want our daily lives to go. It would have been a really good time if you made a decision to be more mindful, or to, you're going to clean your act up or anything like that, or if you want to change the way you live your daily life. That was all good. And, the eclipse did take place in Virgo, and each full moon has a slightly different flavour. But for my money, as a moonologer, as someone who's been studying this for I don't know how many years now, probably 25 years, probably longer, I feel like while there is something to be gained by looking at where the full moon is taking place in your chart, that's for sure, and looking at which sign it's taking place as well, really, when it comes to a full moon eclipse, you just need to know it's a full moon eclipse, because it means there is one old way of life that's closing. And, depending on you and your star sign, you may or may not find it easy to just let go and move on. Some signs are going to find it, especially the water signs, which are quite sentimental, possibly the earth signs, which tend to be a little bit more, stuck in the mud from time to time, are definitely going to find it harder to just let go and move on. If you happen to be a fire sign or an air sign, then you probably find it a little bit easier to go through periods like this, where there is just change being foisted upon us, whether we're ready or not. And just in case you don't know the signs, so the fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. The air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Yes, it is an air sign, not a water sign, even though it's a water bearer. And the water signs are, did I say the water signs yet? No, they're Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, okay? So the air signs and the fire signs are really the signs that are like just burn things up, and they're going to find it easier to just let go and move on of whatever's been happening. The water signs in particular can struggle with change, and earth signs might find it harder to keep up as well. Anyway, that's as may be. The fact that this was a full moon eclipse in an earth sign, Virgo, actually also kind of makes it a bit easier for water signs and earth signs, because it means it wasn't clashing, at least with your sun. But, I don't want to digress too much, but basically the thing is, it's time to let go of something. And trust me, as a water sign, I know it can be hard. But if you're one of the people struggling to let go, to move on, then, well, the best thing I can say to you is to try and trust the process that you're going through. Reach out to loving friends who can support you. The other thing which is coming to mind is, do your spiritual work. Do your oracle cards is particularly what came to mind. Do some oracle cards and then journal around the oracle card. Why don't you do an oracle card for anyone who is listening to this and identifies as having a bit of a tough time at the moment. It doesn't matter what your star sign is, or if you're an air sign or a water sign or a what sign. let's just say if you are going through a rough time, I'm just going to shuffle. No, I'm going to go with that card. If you are going through a tough time, I haven't seen it, by the way, then just say silently or out loud, or if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, just say this card is for me. Or, just do something to commit that this card is for you. All right. And thinking about whatever it is that you're letting go. I've just looked at the card. Whatever it is that you're letting go, whatever you're struggling with, just say this card is for me, and then I will let you know what the card is. And that's going to kind of give us some interesting information. Not that useful, to be honest. Are you ready? Okay, so if this card is for you, the message from the universe is keep going, trust the process. Okay, believe that everything's happening for your highest good on some level, even if you can't work out how. Continue to try to release yourself because, the full moon eclipse was all about letting go. And also Venus is retrograde, so I'll go into that in a minute, but that really plays into all of this. This is the card. Are you ready? In 3, 2, 1. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. If you're not watching on YouTube, if you're listening somewhere else, it actually says, nothing is yet set in stone. So, nothing is yet set in stone. Kind of, annoying, encouraging. I don't know how you take that card, but I think what it means is just keep shedding, because, whatever you're going through, even if you're thinking, oh my God, thank God, maybe it's all going to work out the way I wanted it to work out and I don't have to let it all go. Sometimes we have to go through the process. It reminds me of if you're ever bargaining or doing a deal, a negotiation. I was talking to someone about this earlier this week, and they were saying that I can't remember what it was now. They were going to buy something, but they weren't really that bothered. They're in Asia, where people in Thailand, where people do tend to haggle a bit more than we do here in, say, London. And they said they were just standing there and just in their uncertainty about what they wanted, the price just kept going down and down and down until eventually they went, you know what, it's such a good price, I'm going to take it. So, the analogy I'm trying to make really badly is sometimes you need to sort of go through a process, like bargaining a price down or whatever, but just go through a process and get yourself into a state where you are okay to let go and move on. Maybe that's where you need to get to in order for whatever it is that you want to materialize. So another example, let's see another example. Just say you've applied for a job that you really, really want, and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're just about to give up. Maybe you've heard that other people have been called back for second interviews. You haven't got a second interview, say, whatever. Maybe it's time to just start to let it go and to go, you know what, maybe this is not right for me. Whatever comes to me, I want it to be for my highest good. And maybe sometimes in that detachment, that's when we actually get what we want, weirdly. And it is to do with the law of attraction. And it is to do with, if you chase someone or something too hard, it becomes like a bar of soap that you can't cling on to. So, with all that in mind, let's just close our eyes for a moment. Close our eyes. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And repeat after me, silently or out loud. I release. I release. I release. I release all expectations. I release the need to control my situation. I even release the idea that I know best. Because the universe has my back. That much I know. So there you go. I hope that helps. So yeah, so we are now in, well, what we can call the eclipse portal. I do like that as a way to describe the period between the two eclipses. I used to say we are now between the eclipses, so it's a chance to catch our breath. I said that years ago on a video that I ended up keeping, and I sort of stumble across it every now and then. So that's how I remember that I said that. And it is a chance to catch our breath in a way, but it's also a chance to really continue to do the work. It's a time when the universe is really nudging us towards significant shifts, okay? And in this case, because we've had the full moon, encouraging us to release what no longer serves us. And then as we get to the new moon eclipse at the end of March, to embrace beginnings, okay? So let me just talk about the fact that Venus is retrograde as well, and Mercury. Like, it's really an intense time. So if you are feeling a little bit discombobulated at the moment, and I guess this card, nothing is set in stone, doesn't really help, does it? Because it's just like, well, I just want certainty. You know, they say that certainty is one of the hardest things to deal with. But, you know, with Mercury going backwards, Venus going backwards, so Mercury, the planet of communications and the mind, Venus, the planet of love and relationships, it really is still a time to rethink, revise, reconsider, reevaluate, reweigh up. Okay, so if you're feeling like, oh, nothing is set in stone, and that's really bloody difficult, excuse my language, it's just the astrology. We are actually moving into really, really intense astrological times. Now, I'm not just talking about this month, although it is pretty intense. You know, you can just see with what's going on around the world, in the States, even in Europe, even in Australia. You know, in Australia, they looks like they're going to have they've just had cyclones in Queensland, where I think 60,000 people's houses were at risk. I might have that wrong, but it was a really big thing. And, you know, now Anthony Albanese, he's going to be calling an election. He's been doing a lot of amazing things down there. He's just like poured billions of dollars into Medicare in Australia, so that they're saying something like 9 out of 10 GPs will be offering Medicare. So he's obviously getting all his big guns out, you know, because there's going to be this almighty fight between him and the leader of the opposition. You know, in America, we've got Trump and Elon Musk making, you know, headlines pretty much every day of the week. We've got Trump apparently talking to Putin and arguing with Zelensky, and, you know, which is Europe and my front door. You know, so it's really, really intense times. And I'm sorry to be, you know, Eurocentric and America-centric and Australia-centric, but I'm sure wherever you are in the world, there are big things going on. And that's just the times that we are living at. And, you know, it's impossible for most of us, you know, even probably for Trump and Musk and, you know, Putin and Albanese, you know, they can't control the world. They can only do what they can do. But in our little worlds, all we can do is what we can do. So it really is a time to think, okay, I'm in the eclipse portal, you know, I'm moving on from what appears to be leaving my life. I'm going to be thinking quite soon about what I want to manifest in my life, because we're going to have the new moon eclipse. It's Mercury retrograde. It could be a confusing time, but it's a time to rethink, revisit, revise. Maybe I want to change my mind about something. Maybe someone in my life is changing their mind about something. And Venus retrograde, you know, which is the time to really reevaluate everything. Okay. At which point I should mention to you that I do have the free Venus retrograde course. And if you haven't done it yet, then I don't know why, because it will explain everything you need to know about what is Venus retrograde. It will help you work out where Venus is retrograde for you in your chart based on your time, date, and place of birth. And I'll tell you in a moment why that is so important to know right now. And you'll also get to hear this kind of a little Venus retrograde miracle that I experienced many years ago when I was actually recording the course, the free course. Let me tell you before, I'll give you the URL. It's, if you want to get it, it's moonmessages.com/Venus. moonmessages.com/ No, sorry. That's the whole course. This is the sampler. It's moonmessages.com/free Venus. Moonmessages.com/free Venus. And I'll put the link in the description below as well. But once you do the free course, if you know that you're really feeling Venus big time, you can also buy the full course. But the first 3 lessons are free. So why is it extra important to know where Venus is retrograde for you right now? Because it's retrograde in the sign of Aries. Now, I know I had an email from someone the other day. It was a lovely email that said, I've been following you for years and everything you say resonates with me, which is beautiful. And then she said, but the one thing is actually something this week you said, which is not correct for me. She said, you said we all have Aries in our chart somewhere. Well, I've done my chart and I do not have Aries. But guess what? We actually do. I did write to this person and say, you may not have any planets in Aries, okay? You may not have any planets in Aries, but you will still have houses in your chart. One house will be governed by Aries, okay? So the reason why it's so important to know where Aries is in your chart right now, and you definitely have Aries in your chart somewhere, is because that's where Venus is retrograde. That's where Mercury is retrograde. And that is where the coming eclipse is going to be at the end of the month as well. So, like basically everything of interest at the moment between now and the end of March is happening in Aries. So if it's your first house, that's how you come across in the world. Second house, to do with cash, property and possessions. 7th house, relationships. 9th house, travel, study, adventure. 10th house, career. So if you do my free Venus course, I believe in the second lesson, which is, free, you'll find out where Aries is in your chart. It's very simple, and I think I actually gave an Excel spreadsheet so you can just work it all out. So if it's your 4th house, then that's home and family. It's all in the free course, but you'll know it's all, your home and family is where all the chaos is going to be. Or if it's in your 11th house, it's going to be your friends. Or if it's your 7th house, it's going to be your love life, okay? Or 2nd or 8th house, going to be money. So the address again is moonmessages.com/free Venus, and you can find out where Aries is for you. So what are we meant to do this week as we move towards the new moon eclipse? Well, I guess the most important thing that we can do is really just keep doing the shedding process, letting go. Like, honestly, throw away as much stuff as you can, If it's usable, give it to charity. In my street, we have a WhatsApp group for the street. And anybody, anytime I find 10 pieces of clothing that I haven't worn for 2 years and I think, I'm just going to get rid of them, put them in a bag, clean them, fold them up nicely, and I give them to someone who lives down the street who works with a women's shelter, mainly for refugees actually. So they've arrived in the country, they don't have many clothes. If I'm throwing things away that are still usable, I give them to charity. If they're just a piece of rubbish, I throw them away. I don't like throwing stuff away, I must admit, but I force myself to get rid of stuff. When you've got, I don't know what, like how many wires do I have, computer wires? I don't know what they are. Eventually I can have 20 of the same wires. Do I really need 20 of the same wires that I don't even know what they do? No. So I just keep one and throw them away or give them away to charity or whatever. So let go of stuff, okay? It's a really, really good time for that. Do a lot of soul searching, do a lot of writing, write down what you're releasing, burn it. Just let it go, okay? And then, when we do the podcast for next week, I will be talking about getting ready for the new moon eclipse, because that is going to be coming up quite fast as well. So in next week's podcast, we're going to talk all about how to make the most of the new moon eclipse in the sign of Aries, which is going to come at the end of next week. So I would just advise you, see a spiritual advisor, get an astrology reading, read a really good astrology book, maybe read my book Moonology, or read, something else that appeals to you, or do my free Venus course, because that will help you really tune into the energies that are swirling around now. Moonmessages.com/free Venus. So on that note, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you're traveling okay. If you're not, I strongly suggest you reach out to someone that you know and love. You know, someone in your life who can help you, because these are tumultuous times. And by the same token, have a look in your life. Who else might be going through a rough time? Who do you know that might be going through a rough time? This is the time to reach out to them if you are doing fine, because it is tumultuous. It's the eclipse portal. It just means we're all shifting from one way of being to another, and it can be very testing. So on that note, join me next week. We'll be talking about the new moon eclipse, which is a massive deal as well. So lots and lots of love, guys.